So here's the upper portion of the steering column. This is actually the bottom of the steering column. You need to look at that hole right there. That's what we're going to be using. I've got a T30 Torx. I'm going to get up in that hole, gain access to the bolt that's up in there, and I'm going to start backing it all the way out. So now we got it all the way backed off. We can grab it with our hand. It's just going to slide off. There we go. The whole assembly right there with the switches and all comes off as one piece. Now in order to get that assembly out for that multifunction switch, we've got to start disassembling stuff in the front and from the back. Now the first thing we got to do, we got this steering angle sensor we got to get out. Now it's got a Phillips screw right there. We need to go ahead and back that out. We can grab the sensor and just wiggle it and pull it straight up and sit to the side. And we got a yellow link right here we're going to take off so it just doesn't fall off. We're going to remember there's a deep side and a shallow side. Just remember which way they went. Now what we need to do, we need to flip it up to the back side. On the back side we got a total of 3 Phillips screws we need to get out too. I'm going to go ahead and start moving on to those and get those off. Now I've backed those 3 Phillips screws all the way out. I can actually lift up on this housing, sit to the side. So now we've got basically all the internal workings of the upper column that we're going to be working with. Next thing we need to do, we need to grab this back piece and just start wiggling. Eventually to start working its way off. It's kind of guided on with the pegs that go through. On the back side that held that back cover on, they kind of slide through it. So once you slide it off, we'll sit it to the side. Now we're getting real close to be able to get to this assembly we need now. The cruise control switch right here, all we got to do now is just lift it off those pegs. And now we're down to the bears. This is pretty much the exact same thing we're going to be replacing. So now we just got to go to opposite of removal, and that's going to be our installation. We're going to go ahead and grab the cruise control switch, slide it down where it needs to. Everything has little tracks and guides. Not only do they have little pegs that stick through, but they got little tracks inside to line everything up. We can grab that. And what we'll do now is we'll work on getting this assembly on. All we got to do is just line it up because a lot of these connectors go into one another. As you can see here and there, they all go in. Everything's kind of guided. So just kind of line up where the studs would go through, or the pegs. And just start working your way around, squeezing it. Once you get it fully squeezed, now what you can do is you go ahead and grab the back cover again. Line everything up. Start sliding it on. Once you've got it fully seated, go ahead and put your 3 Phillips screws back in. Back to the front again. We've tightened down the back cover with the 3 Phillips. Get a little yellow wedge, or link, excuse me. Slide it down on there. Now we can get our steering angle sensor. I'm just going to line it up where it goes. Line it up to where it lines up with the 2 pegs coming through. Fully seat it. And then all we got to do is put our small Phillips screw on there, and the upper assembly will be ready to go back in the vehicle. So now we got our assembly together. What we can do is we go ahead and slide it on the steering column, line it up with the boot going around the dash. Keep going down until it finally seats flush. And what we'll do is we'll get our T30 driver. We'll go back up through the access hole. And now we can tighten it down, snug it up, and then it'll clamp itself in place. Now it's just a matter after that of putting the clock spring on. Alright, so look right here at the multifunction switch. That little white piece is the turn signal arm that comes in contact with the raised area on this clock spring right here. That's the cancel portion. Now right here you got a red lock that keeps the clock spring locked in place. Our steering column has a notch straight up so everything's still lined up. Take the protective sleeve off the pins here. Now we'll just be guiding it down here. It'd be kind of, we got to go right where the steering angle sensor is. There's a portion that the pins will go down in. It's kind of funnel shaped, so it'll guide itself into the connector down below. Just kind of get it started, put it over the steering column, and then start pressing down until it's fully seated. Kind of look at all your fasteners and where they should line up. Everything should still be straight up, line up till it fully snaps in place. Now all we got to do is work on tightening down the 3 Torx screws. Alright, so I'm tightening down the last of the 3 Torx screws. Everything's fully seated now. We'll go ahead and make sure it looks like it's fully seated. We'll also go ahead and get ready to pull that red lock off that we're no longer needing. Just check that everything moves smoothly. As long as it moves freely, we're good to go. Here's a quick pointer for when you're going to reinstall the clock spring. Not only does the steering wheel have to be straight, keep an eye on your turn signal. If you've got it either in the down or up position for left or right, the cam that makes contact with the clock spring will be too far in, and then the clock spring will sit on top of it. So definitely make sure you got it in the rest position. You don't have it turning left or right. You've got it in the dead center. That way the clock spring sits completely flush. So definitely make sure you do that. Now it's time to reinstall the steering wheel. I've already taken the lock off. Everything's lined up where it needs to be. We're going to go ahead and guide the wires back through this little opening on the side of the steering wheel. Now the steering wheel is actually keyed to go directly only one way on the steering column. So as you're rotating it around, it will line up and then it will be on. There is no, I can turn it this way, I can turn it that way. It doesn't work that way. It is keyed to only go on one way. So now what we'll do is get our 10mm Allen bolt, put it back through there, and we'll get ready to tighten it down and torque it down. Center bolt, you're going to torque it down to 52 foot-pounds. 52 foot-pounds on the bolt that holds the steering wheel to the steering column. Remember that, 52 foot-pounds. Once it's torqued down, we're going to move on to the airbag assembly, reinstalling it. We've already hooked up, I've gone ahead and hooked up the white connector we took loose earlier. All we got to worry about is now plugging in the airbag. We got two of them right here. We also got that wire tie that had that router on it that we put over that stud. And then we got the horn pad. Now we just position it correctly on the steering wheel, sit it down, and then of course we get to the back side to put the two 10mm on, which is how we started this whole procedure. Once we're done, we'll make sure the operation of the turn signal is working fine. It cancels when we go left, cancels when we go right. We want to make sure everything steering column related is working, because we were working on it. We didn't want to have to accidentally break something. So if you had done the steering angle sensor, if you'd done the speed control switch, if you had done the multifunction switch, all that, airbag, horn buttons, the switches here for your menu as well as ready, make sure they all work. We were working on that area. We want to make sure we didn't cause any damage. So there you go. You replaced your multifunction switch. Hopefully everything went back fine. Hopefully you lined up your steering wheel and the wheels of the vehicle straight so that your clock spring's in the correct position. So at this point, I ask for any kind of thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget to like me on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter and check me out on Instagram as well. Also, if you got any comments or suggestions about today's video or anything Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep related, please feel free to email me at david@motorcitymechanic.com, and I'll try to get back to you in a timely manner. In the meantime, thanks for watching these videos.